Hi, this is Kerry Feldman, and people are searching around for the average retirement income in the U.S. And I think it's a really interesting question. It's an important question. It varies from person to person based upon how much you've saved, how much you've worked, all kinds of things. But I think there's a bigger and more compelling question, and that is, how are you going to space out your retirement income to be able to cover for the 20 to 30 years that people anticipate living in retirement. So I prepared a little presentation that follows on the heels of this introduction to kind of illustrate the size of the dilemma. There is a crisis looming for us in America and perhaps in the whole world, but certainly in America regarding retirement. So watch this video and then let's talk about it later on. Hey, congratulations! You're thinking about retirement. Good idea. Now, the time for you to reach retirement may be short, or perhaps it's still decades away. But what is important is that no one knows the future, and it's surely we will not run from it, but it really helps to take a look at the landscape of retirement so at least we can plan. So maybe you've accumulated some savings to support you in retirement. That's great. Let's call that your pool of money. Now, however big that pool is, when you retire and no longer receive a paycheck, you'll need to draw from it in order to support your needs, just like your salary and savings did while you were working. So in retirement, your lifestyle may change, as will your need for money. But many financial planners suggest that you will need 75 to 100% of your current monthly spending in retirement, even though the reason for various costs may change. Now, if your pool is small, as in the case of most people in America, you'll be depending on other income to refill the pool. Let's call that your stream of cash that comes in from investments and retirement accounts or programs, stocks, bonds, annuities, and the like, right? So then many people will also receive Social Security, and some may have interest from those savings accounts. And perhaps you even have a rich relative who will leave you a substantial inheritance. Woohoo! So if the stream of cash over the remainder of your life sufficiently replenishes your pool of money from which you draw your retirement, then you remain a happy camper until you check out of Hotel Earth. Let's look at reality for a moment. As you can see from the amounts that people have saved, considering the amount that they're going to need for retirement, the amounts are really quite modest, and in fact, it's downright frightening. An institute dedicated to retirement reported that the average working household has virtually no retirement savings, and that most retirement accounts from near retirement households, and that's like more than 50% of them, have only $12,000 saved. Wow, $12,000 to last 20 or 30 years? Obviously, most people don't have a big pool of money, and maybe that's you. Now, if your income is not replaced from Social Security or your retirement plan, assuming you have one, then the stream of cash is in a drought. Your spending needs will continue until you drain the reservoir dry. Sadly, your outgo will exceed your intake, and your upkeep will be your downfall. So if you haven't done the math yet, this is where most people in America will end up. They'll go on welfare. They'll be forced to go on welfare. Perhaps they will move in with relatives in order to make ends meet. But they will be out of control, and I'm guessing that that wasn't the way they planned to finish their lives. Is that where you are? Too many people, I think, are in this condition and have too little time left to recover. So, perhaps you see the reality and you realize the shortfall, and no matter how good you are saving and you're diligent and you're committed to your 401k and other savings plans, you just won't have enough to last for 30 years. So let's propose a different approach. When is $1,000 worth more than $1 million in savings? Well, let's do the math. If you had $1 million in the bank today, it currently earns about 1% a year in interest. Many banks offer much less, like 1/4%, but just for our example here, let's just use 1%. So if you leave the $1 million in the bank for a year, you get about $10,000 interest, or about $833 a month. Whoa. So you may not have $1 million, but you can receive income like you do, because if you had a steady income of only $1,000 a month, it's like having $1.2 million in the savings bank. So I can say that gratefully there is a way for you to maintain your lifestyle without having to bump off rich Uncle Roy. If you had a small home business with us, you could generate enough income that's worth more than having millions of dollars in a savings account at the bank. You could work from home and earn enough to supplement or even replace your current income for retirement. You could create financial freedom where there is none today. You see, you can sit and fret about your future. I suppose you could plan for who you can move in with, or you can do something about financial freedom. So, what's it going to be for you? So, I hope that helps to illustrate the size of the problem. It really doesn't matter what the average retirement income is in the U.S. What matters is how much you have saved and how much you're going to have available for you in your retirement years. I heard someone today say, can you live on $11.20 a month, because that was all that they had saved up. I heard somebody else suggest that if you only had a few $1,000s and you were in your 50s, you should panic. Well, I don't know if that's the end of the question. I think that there is time. Make the right steps now, increase your savings, and to be sure that you find an alternative source of income to make up for that savings loss that you don't have. If you don't, the deficit that you have, you can't make up necessarily by savings, but you could certainly make it up with an income source. So I would recommend that you click on the link below and you'll see an alternative for you. Take the tour there and find out whether or not this makes sense for you. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I wish you well. Bye-bye.